We're Byron and Jill, two hands-on people with big dreams. In 2024, we jumped headfirst into our off-grid dream and purchased a 100-acre block at Mount Binga. After relocating here in 2025, our big goal right now is transforming this incredible century-old Ashgrovian Queenslander into our forever home. This isn't just a renovation, it's a complete transformation, a huge project demanding a lot of energy and time, and it's going to take everything we've got. And we'd love to have you along for the ride. Every challenge, every triumph, every step of the way. Welcome back to Off Grid at Mount Binga and to the next chapter in our Verandah rebuild series. If you've been following along, you'll know we've been chipping away at this for a little while now. Demolishing old framing and walls, ripping out hundreds of nails and that aluminium sliding door, framing new walls and a window opening, and spending serious time bringing these weathered posts back to life. We've made a good head start on insulation too, which we'll be finishing off in this episode. And then we'll move on to putting up the weatherboard cladding. That's the step where things really start to transform this space and makes us all the more excited to be sitting up here, catching the breeze and watching the landscape around us. We hope you'll stick around for the progress. It's slow, but it's satisfying. And as always, drop any questions or feedback you might have in the comments below. We hope you will enjoy. So we've got most of the veranda insulated now. So we've been using a double layer of R 2.5 earth wool and then holding that in place with this blue earth ball strapping that's specifically designed for this purpose. So we've also been putting up some air cell, so just another layer of insulation. This is the western side of the house, and whilst we've got lots of trees and timber out that way, we're Queenslanders and we know what western sun feels like. It's also the side that the bedrooms are on, and so we wanted to make sure that this side is well insulated from any heat, but also to be able to keep the warmth in as well. Definitely going to be retaining a bit of a Queenslander look by putting some weatherboard planks on this sort of internal part of the veranda. It did used to just be the same layer of VJ walls that are in the bedrooms, but because we wanted to insulate, we needed to find another way to have another layer. So I'm just going to finish off the last little bit of this now. There's not too much more to do, but it's the finicky little cutting things down to size. They're all a bit irregular size now, so I'll get that done. Then we should be able to finish air cell application, and then finally we'll be picking up our weatherboard planks hopefully in the next couple of days. A trip to the local hardware store is on the cards, and we'll be bringing back I think 70 lengths of weatherboard, which will allow us to get started on cladding the veranda here, and a very exciting part. Next up, Byron got stuck into the door jambs. We'll end up with 5 external doors opening onto the veranda, 3 standard size ones and 2 sets of French doors for the bedrooms. So we needed a whole stack of wedges to use to get everything perfectly level and plumb. Because we've added thickness to all of these walls for insulation and cladding purposes, the jambs needed to be a bit wider in places to give the weatherboards a proper surface to butt up against. We picked up some new pine just for that. Here he's framing up the new small veranda room, using those wedges to shim everything spot on. Then he repeated the process for all other doorways.
I don't know if you can see in the background, we've got some dreary weather, so we thought we'd tackle a job underneath the roof today. We're out on the veranda. What we're sitting on is 80 lengths of external cladding. We had special ordered this from our local shop, and today's the day we start putting it on. But first, what do we got, Julie?
We've got to finish putting the air cell and insulation up on the walls we're going to be cladding, which shouldn't actually take too long. Pretty quick job, we've done most of it already.
We'll do a bit of filming this morning and play a bit of catch up. And then we'll get stuck into some cladding. We've been waiting for this. This is the part of the button up that I keep talking about. So we'll just keep chipping away today and make the most of this dreary weather. See how far we get. So we've got the isolation paper on. This stuff here we've had left over from a few projects over the years, and instead of buying new stuff, we've been able to use all these old offcuts, which is why you can see just a few random bits here and there, but it'll get covered. It's behind the wall. It's just an extra form of insulation which will work for us on this wall being the western side. Now we've got that done, we can get started on some cladding. This is going to be a pretty good part of the job. But firstly, we don't just go slapping boards up. There's a fair bit of preparation involved just to make the job run a little bit smoother. Firstly, if you zoom in here, I've got all the studs marked. All these vertical red lines are the center of each stud. That's marked for when we start going up the wall, that we don't have to be continually looking for the stud to shoot the nails. So we can just put the nail gun in the right spot every time and shoot away. We're going to get a good solid contact into the middle of those studs. Second step is establishing a height. Now this is a big one. We've got to work with an existing cladding on the house because some of it still has cladding on. And for us to just start banging these up at a certain measurement wouldn't work because it'll look different to the existing part of the house. So I'll just double check that we have a 140mm cover or overlap. So what we'll be doing is working in 140mm measurements going up the wall. So I'm just going to leave that there so we can double check with that if we need to. Third step would be to set up a datum line. This is one of the most important things, because if we were to start over at the front of the house and use a level all the way around, by the time we get over to this side of the house, we could be out 10mm, and then that wouldn't work. 10mm starts at the bottom, towards the top it might be 70mm out. So the best thing to do is set up a datum line, which means I'm going to shoot this green line, if you can see that there, and I'm going to mark a few spots on this wall. It doesn't have to be set at a certain height, but it has to be set consistently so we can measure back off the board as we come up. And then once we pass that line, we can then check the measurement off a certain board, because it's going to be correct and we can always refer back to that line. So I've got the laser set up now. I'm just going to mark a few spots. Let the line settle. Alright, we've got our datum set. We might get stuck into the first board. We're going to leave it up off the floor about 5mm. This will just allow for any movement if the decking comes up with the joist or the house wants to set a little bit more. We don't have this compression where it's starting to buckle boards, so we'll leave a 5mm gap between the deck itself and our first board, and I'll cut a little spacer for that, and we can use that for our first board along this long wall. So we've purchased 80 lengths of these cladding boards from our local shop. You will see, and some of you might not like it, they are pine, but they match the existing house perfectly. They were 3 times cheaper than what we could get the hardwood for. And when you start talking $5,000 for pine and $15,000 for hardwood, it's pretty simple for us to just drop back to the pine product. It's going to paint up very nice. You'll see it go up, it's straight, it's easy to nail. We can glue it easily, we can paint it easily. Pine has its benefits, so we're going to stick with it.
The weatherboards we purchased are each 5.4 metres in length,
Just go down to the bottom,
which is shorter than the length of this main wall.
go up to the bottom of that window.
And we needed to make sure the end of each of the 2 pieces finished at a stud so we could nail them all off.
51, 55.
We're also staggering the joins, so the main boards are 51 55mm from one side and 53 20mm from the other.
Oh, good. Not much waste at all. 53, 20.
And so began the assembly line. Byron cutting each of the boards to size, me manoeuvring the next board carefully around the veranda posts, and the dogs each doing their own thing.
So we're going to leave a little 1mm gap here for expansion, heat and contraction, something like that anyway. That'll get no more gapped up there, but instead of having it tight, we want a little bit of movement down that edge. So you'll see some little mil gaps here and there, but that's on purpose. That top nail gets covered, that bottom nail is exposed, but it'll get puttied. A 140 board, 140 overlap will get us to there. So you won't see that top nail. And there's my little spacer block. Our next board will be determined off this datum line. Always starting with our 140 overlap or cover. And then all you got to do is measure from your datum line, which we marked earlier, down to that mark. It's 840. So now all we have to do is go to our datum line, down the wall, and mark 840. That way it's consistently level going up the wall. And it doesn't matter where the bottom board is, because I'll show you why. The measurement there is 132, and that's because the deck might go up and down, which it certainly does. And that little gap at the bottom is where you can lose that. No one can visually see that because it's down at your level of your feet. If you were to have that gap go like that up here, you'd see it every day. So we're going to eliminate that straight away in our first board. So we'll mark our 840 down here. That one there. And from there up, we can go 140, 140, 140. And then say the fourth board up, we'll double check with our datum just to make sure we're still consistently on track. And we'll just work our way up just like that. It's just rinse and repeat now. Now you got to line up with a stud.
Like on the red line?
Yeah.
Yep. I can't see any datums anymore.
You need to bend down and have a look at your datum.
It's way up there.
Yeah. You ready?
Yep.
So I want a 1mm gap there and a 1mm gap there. So we're going to be 2mm shorter. You got a mil gap?
Nope. Yep.
Should be the same. I wrote it down. 1020. Yep. So I made a little jig here, just with a little board, little offcut as a little stopper. I've cut this board down to exactly 140, which is our overlap. All I've got to do is hook this bit on here, mark the top of the board, nice big line. Now I can mark every second stud and every join. That way I'm not pulling my tape out all the time, and it's very consistent. Let's go. Alright, so we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boards up, and it's time we check our datum line. So from this board up to our datum, we've got 263, 263, 264, 265, 267. So we're running out 4 mil overall, which means we just need to do a little adjustment here. This board down the end needs to be 143. This board in the middle needs to be 142. This board down here can go back to 140. That way we'll be 3 mil closer to our datum, and the next board up we'll double check it again and we can go from there. Alright, so we've got that wall there done up to head height. That's about where we're going to stop for now. We'll get this veranda done all at that height, then we'll work out with a little bit of scaffolding and work our way up. All the offcuts we have, because we've been able to work smart, there's this little pile here. Thought I'd just pull up for a minute and do a bit of tool talk. I've heard a few people want to talk about tools I've been using. Today's a big tool actually. It's been the main thing I've been using all day. It's this here pen. This is a pencil, not a pen, and it's built by Empire, and it comes with these little lead fillers. And it's like a pacer. If you remember in school, we used to have pacers. Instead of sharpening my pencil all the time, I thought I'd just switch over to my pacer. When it gets a little bit blunt, I have a little sharpener on the holder. There it is. And I can bring it back to fully sharp. Slots in here, it's got a little clip. Clips down to my tool belt there. It's real handy. Anyway, better get back to it. datum and on the roof. You're doing something up the roof. You don't want to go up and down. The apprentice can pre-cut everything by getting that mark there.
Yep.
Using a block like this, marking that long point there. And that chord's going to be 357. And you can just keep feeding them. Hello. Instead of 1, it'll dry out to 0. Be the last bulb.
How'd it go, Byron?
Well, just like that, we've got the wall done. Took us about 6 minutes, I reckon. No, it probably took maybe an hour. We had smoko in between, and we come back and we finished right up to the top. If you can see that there, that's one little wall ticked off. Let's keep going this way.
And keep going we did, but we're going to pull up stumps here, so you'll just have to tune into the next episode to see this main veranda wall buttoned up, plus the next wall, and the one after that. We definitely got in the flow from this and kept the momentum going. Thanks for watching this chapter. If you're enjoying following along, then please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to drop a comment if you've got any tips or feedback, or just want to say hi. Stay tuned!